you know, like when they say bloody hell.
Yeah.
And it's like, we think it's a joke.
Yeah.
Something was happening and she was like, bloody hell. And I was like she was pissed. And I was like, oh God, like I'm going to start laughing right now.
What's going on, everybody? You're watching the Pure World Podcast. My name's Rob Pierce. I'm here with Jack.
What's up, everybody?
And we're also here with our friend Angelina Marazzi. Ange, what are you doing here? What's what is, give us a little intro about yourself and what we're talking about today.
So I'm Angelina. I know Jack and Robbie from college. One of my best friends lives in Attleboro, and I kind of just met them and became part of the group a little bit. Super friendly people. I'm here with them today to talk about my basketball career and also my starting up of my coaching and training career.
Yeah, one thing, Angelina, that I'm super fascinated about you is your experience playing basketball overseas. So can you walk us through how that even became a reality?
Yeah, for sure. So I actually didn't start basketball till really late. I think 8th grade I played rec, and then I got serious in 9th grade. But when I started playing sports in 9th grade, I played volleyball, basketball, and then softball. In rec, I got MVP. I thought I was the real deal. In reality, I could barely dribble a basketball.
Right.
So I had that little attitude behind me. And I was on the varsity team for all 3 sports, in my high school, my freshman year.
That's impressive. Wait, which high school?
I went to West High School my freshman year in Manchester. It's not totally impressive.
Okay, Manchester, New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Got it.
Biggest sports world. And then I kind of just got really serious about basketball. It was the hardest one for me athletically. I was kind of really good at volleyball and softball without trying. And basketball for me, I had to put a lot of effort, but I think it was that grind thing that just had me keep coming back for more. And I'm not good enough. I didn't have any trainers just yet. I was fortunate that I did meet a trainer who's now a mentor, pretty much family, TJ Thompson. He coaches at Rutgers. And then
when was that?
I met him in my junior year of high school. And again, I walked into the gym with a little bit of attitude. Yeah. And he pretty much was like, "You're terrible." And I was like, I'm not coming back. And then we kind of just built that relationship, and, he became my best friend on and off the court, and just his family and the people that he also trained were just super great. They pushed me on and off the court. And then I started basketball super late. So I heard about prep school, and the reality of that was kind of a mix for me, because you're looking at prep schools nowadays that are $70,000 a year.
Right.
Wow, that's crazy.
So pretty expensive, and I was really
basically like college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty fortunate that I got to go and have that experience for 2 years. I went my junior year.
Okay, wait. So you transferred out of your high school.
Yes.
After sophomore year, went to the prep school at the beginning of your junior year?
So I actually did 3 years at public high school. So I repeated my junior year on purpose, and then did my senior year instead of a PG. Gave me the opportunity to have 2 years instead of 1.
Wow. Okay. What is the difference that you experience between public school and prep school?
Yeah. So my junior year academically, so I went to Northville Mount Herman.
Okay.
So that's not only just kind of a regular prep school, if you put it in a different category, people go there for not only athletics, but especially the academics. So,
really?
Yeah.
Especially the academics.
Yeah. So you're trying to go.
This is in New Hampshire?
It's in Gill, Massachusetts. Middle of nowhere, but a beautiful place.
How far away was it from your house?
2.5.
Okay.
2.5 hours.
Did you miss your family? You had to board there, right?
Yeah. I definitely did, but I'm someone who's super adaptable. I feel like I have if there's one thing that like I pride on myself is I'm very adaptable for situations. And it's like one of the qualities where, you know, I believe everyone struggles with confidence, whether they say they do or don't. But like there's one thing, like I can look in the mirror and know that like I'm going to be adaptable in any situation I'm put in.
Right.
So I went there for 2 years, and academically, tough.
Yeah.
Like tough. Like the best description I can give you is like Shakespeare at 8 a.m. getting called out for falling asleep, having to take a loop outside, you know, in the mountains, and it's snowing. And
What do you mean having to take a loop?
Yeah, what is that?
so
I love this.
yeah, so I would fall asleep quite often. I think it was just like it's one of those like falling asleeps where like you're trying so hard not to. So it's like it didn't make it any better to any of the professors at all. And it was like twice now where I like, you know, did the head nod, and I'm like, I have no idea what's going on because I'm practically sleeping. And he's like, you know, read page, whatever. And in Shakespeare, you had to read like art thou. And I'm
Right.
like, I can't do this right now. And he's like, okay, next. Fell asleep again. And he's like, take a loop. And I'm like, what? He's like, take a loop, get some fresh air. And I'm like, so I literally like went outside and came back in, and I'm like, okay, I'm definitely awake now. But I was really good in school. Like I still was when I went to NMH, but like it was really tough. So I had to adjust. And again, I was kind of had attitude about life a little bit. I just always had a chip on my shoulder. I feel like that I carried, and I always was trying to like prove myself to people that I didn't have to. And it like gave me a little bit of, I'm definitely someone who has been working a lot these past 2 years of not being that person that's like, you know, a rock on the outside. And then my senior year, I definitely enjoyed it a lot more. You know, I knew the place, I knew the people, but as we all do, like I sit here now and I'm like I would give anything to go back. Like I was so fortunate to go to that school. Like it's unbelievable.
Totally. Yeah.
So
did you end up having to like pay the sticker price?
no.
Okay. That's
It's
nice.
a funny story. So I applied to a couple, and I was like, oh, you know, NMH is the one. But academically, like, it's no joke. Like, I had a 3.8 out of 4.0 for 3 years. And I'm like, okay, still a long shot because I went to public high school. And I didn't get in.
Yeah.
And I called the coaches who were two unbelievably people.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I didn't get in. I'm waitlisted. And then I get a call the next day, and, you know, someone dropped off the wait list, and
There you
here I
go.
am, get to
Wow.
go. And my mom, I remember my mom, I picked up the phone. She's like, someone wants to talk to you. And, you know, it was someone from the office telling me that, like, I got in, and I said, I literally said, how much do I have to pay?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And, you know, it is like, okay, it's a conversation like you don't have to worry about right now, just to be excited to get in. And like, I was, again, just super blessed. Like, it's the little things, like they would iron and fold our uniforms. Like, as a basketball player, like that's stuff you like. And the assistant coach, Rich Messer, unbelievable family in person. He runs the head of the dining hall as well. So like homemade food, 24/7. Like, it's just the little
that's
things like
amazing.
that.
Yeah.
And just a great campus. Like, it's something like you two, especially like you guys like to travel and you appreciate like views. You would like, wow, this is unbelievable.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
It sounds
interesting.
beautiful.
Yeah, I've never heard of Gill, Massachusetts, so that's interesting in itself. But my question is, like, when you were, you know, going to the school, obviously you had thoughts of playing college basketball, right?
Yeah.
Did you have thoughts of playing pro yet while you were at the school, or was that sort of like seemed like out of reach?
So when I started getting serious about basketball, like there was definitely a lot of negative comments around, you know, those classic coaches and people, not the greatest size for basketball.
Sure, yeah.
I wasn't the quickest, and I had a lot to work on. Like, I skipped a lot of fundamental years because I just kind of, you know, I didn't meet trainers until my junior year. And I didn't have like the greatest high school experience with like fundamentals.
Right.
So when I was playing, I was like, I need to go to college for free, with the background of like, I love basketball and I'll do anything to like get there. And like, I always like wanted to continue to play. it definitely was overseas, but I definitely was just like kind of stopping my brain at like, you got to get into college somewhere. You need to go D1 or D2. Like, you got to prove yourself, and you got to make that check 0 or very cheap. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah, that is important. Just, to like, for being realistic, you can't go to a school and pay insane amounts of money.
A lot of people do though, and they like have like debt up their wahoo.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was like the process of, getting into, well, after this, you went and played college basketball, right? So what was the process with that, and where did you play?
So I committed to play at St. Anselm College in the NE10.
Dope.
Kind of like a walk-on / commit.
Okay.
And that was my freshman year, and it was kind of like, okay, I made it here, but I still had a lot to work on. And I was behind like really great players, but also great people.
That's
so
important, yeah.
I wasn't sitting on the bench like salty. Right. I was like, they're just better than me. And like, of course, in my head, I'm like, oh, I really want to play. But that has probably been a first experience, even like fast forwarding and before, where I've sat on the bench and I'm like, you go, girl. Like, I've always been proud of my teammates, but I've also been fortunate enough to be in that spotlight. And they were just like really great people. So I didn't play very much. I barely played. Even if we were up 30 or down 30, freshmen did not get that playing minutes. And then the coach ended up leaving, and that's like risky business when you get a D1, D2, because you're getting a brand new coach. So it's like they don't know what they're getting, and they still have their likes and dislikes.
Absolutely.
So then I went to Fitchburg State, and I knew the head coach from playing at NMH. He coached at Worcester Academy previously, and I didn't look anywhere else, to be honest with you. Okay. I literally went and met with him, and he looked at me and said, you have the green light in 40 minutes. And I was like, boom, that's all I need to hear. Like, I'm itching to play. I don't want to be one of those players, and there's nothing wrong with being, these quote unquote, one of the players that like not play for 4 years. Like, absolutely, I didn't want to sit there and just get all the gear and not play and like have that grinding mentality. So he said that, and I was like, yep, good to go. And he was like, you want a tour? And I was like, no, thank you.
Just pulling up the
basketball.
Wow. So like, you've now transferred out of 2 schools, out of your high school and out of your first year of college. What is that situation like for somebody who is like maybe considering transferring out of their school? What did you go through in making those transitions?
Yeah. So also funny story. My freshman year, I went to West High School. My sophomore year, I went to Central.
True.
And my junior year, I went to Memorial and then prep school. So like a lot of Manchester people like make jokes, and like family do too. And it was one of those situations where like I was finding my spot. Like, I wasn't running away from issues. I was finding my spot, and that spot was I need to go to a better basketball program.
Sure. That makes sense.
That was the only thing that was in my head. So, you have the classic nerves of being in high school. Like when I visited Attleboro High, because I'm going to be coaching there, we had a meeting and I walked in the front building, and it was funny because I go, oh, like I just got like high school anxiety all over again, like kids flowing in and out of the building. But otherwise, just like the classic little bit of nerves. Like I was just always trying to be me, and like, honestly, just be me and try not to be so hard on the outside, because that was something that I would do all the time without realizing it.
That makes sense. So it's something you'd recommend, right? They shouldn't shy away from, transferring and things like that.
I think change is good.
Yeah.
Change is healthy for sure. And I think if you like are unhappy and you want to make that change, but you're like afraid, it's like easier to not make the change.
Yeah.
It's easier to just stay in whatever position you're in. But like, I think, making that change and like getting out of your comfort zone is really healthy. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah, I can agree. And basketball wise and in life, it's always like, for me, it's going outside of your comfort zone. But when you said like change is good, it's a lot of times people always play the what if games with, the negatives, but what's the positive of the what if games? Like, I'm someone who's plays the what if games of the negatives all the time, but I'm like, hold on, what are the positives? There's got to be some if we sit down and
Yeah.
just get the negatives out of my head.
Yeah, that's definitely a good way to frame it. So, you're at Fitchburg now. Like you've been playing basketball for like 8 years now or so. What are your goals and what is your mindset in this first year at Fitchburg? Like, are you planning on just doing the best you can at the school, or are you thinking that you need to do good so you can transfer? Thinking you need to do good so you can go pro overseas? What was your thought process like? Beginning years of Fitchburg.
Yeah. So I got to Fitchburg and it was a different level. So you have a lot of differences from D1, D2 to D3.
Yeah.
What was the division difference again?
So I was D2 and then I went D3. So you have a lot of differences just from like, you got the gear, you got workout situations, you got court time, and then you got the willingness. This happens at every level. You have D1, you have WNBA players that don't really want to be there, right? But a lot of times, you go D3, maybe it's just like, okay, I'm in college and like, I'm pretty good at the sport. I'm going to play, but like, it's not the end of my life when I play bad. And that was my life, right? Like if I played bad, my world was crumbling.
Right.
So I got there and I had to really adapt to the situation of like, all right, take a breath, right? You're not at St. A's anymore. This is a different level. And I struggled a little bit my sophomore and junior year in the sense of like, I was really like, not pushy, but I was like, okay, well, don't be upset when you miss a layup. You're not working out. Or are you really going to do that before a game day? And it's like, maybe in the moment to my face, I wasn't getting that heat, but I was definitely getting that heat of like, you're like annoying. This is not the WNBA. Relax.
Okay, I see.
But for me, I was like, I want to be the best here playing. I want to be the best teammate. I want to do everything I can to make myself and my teammates better. And I wanted my name on the wall as much as I could. Like I wanted to prove myself over and over again, but also not just basketball wise. Like I wanted to be a good person, like walking around that school and someone that you would remember not only for, putting a basketball in the hoop.
Right.
So I definitely like when I transferred to Fitchburg State, it was big for me when he was like, you have the green light, because I was like, all right, I can't just go and play D2, D1 and play 10 minutes and be a role player. Like I got to get accolades. I got to score 1,000 points. Like I have to work hard and get my name out there because like I could have played D2, but only played 10 minutes, or I could have played D3 like I did and kind of really like shined and had those accolades to be like, all right, you haven't watched every single game in college, but here's my proof almost.
Sure. That makes sense. Yeah.
So, like overseas was like huge for me. Like probably like sophomore year, like it was always a dream, but I was like, all right, let's make it real. Like, what do I need to do?
Okay, cool. And what, were your coaches supportive of that, like with the whole overseas thing, or did you kind of have to like do that on your own? Like, did you have any help with, connections for overseas or, mentors and things like that?
So I definitely had like great mentors that weren't necessarily at the school. But the coach I had my sophomore and junior year, like really supportive in the sense of like, I never had to stress him. Like I could probably come down and like, granted, he'll watch this and probably laugh because it's true. Like I could have came down and like whip up a half court shot, and he knows I'm sprinting back on defense if I miss. Like
sure,
he had that trust in me that like honestly probably gave me a lot of confidence. But I definitely had some help, but I definitely felt like I also did a lot on my own. So like I had trainers outside of Fitchburg, and then we got a new coach our senior year, which was like pretty tough for like playing style wise, but the coach I had my sophomore and junior year was super helpful in my confidence of, let's go score. Let's get you these accolades. Let's be a good person and let me teach you some stuff.
Cool. I'm really interested in like those final moments of like when playing abroad became a reality. What was like the last, like quarter four getting into like, this is going to happen. What was going on?
Yeah. So probably until like, honestly, like 2 weeks ago, maybe I like said out loud, sounds funny, but I said out loud and wrote it down that I was proud of myself.
Nice.
For my basketball like career. I honestly, up to graduation, had absolutely no faith in myself. And you ask my teammates and, people at Fitchburg, and they're like, yeah, okay, right? Sometimes when you're good at something, like really good, and you work really hard, even if you're not, you have that persona that you're cocky, right? And I always prided on being humble, but I never prided on being proud of myself.
Right.
So I stressed a lot about my teammates and their feelings, whether they believed it or not. I had a lot of, I was taking 15 to 20 shots a game. And I sit here now and I say that I deserved it because I was working so hard. But I put a lot of stress on myself. I could have probably, we all say this, in things in life, but I could have probably been 10 times better if I didn't care what they thought of me, right? Because I had the weight of my shoulders of their feelings and how the game was going to be after, if like they didn't get enough shots or they felt like I was taking too many shots. And, you get to senior year and I score my 1,000 points and I get these accolades, but like every time the weekly honor roll would come out or, awards were coming, I'm like, okay, this is my time. Like, do I deserve it? Do I get it? And even if I got it, every Monday I would check and scroll in class. Like, all right, who got, honorable mention, who got player of the week? Even when I got it, I was like, that's not good enough. If I got honorable mention, why didn't I get player of the week? And then you get to May, my senior year, and COVID hits. And I'm like, maybe I'm not good enough. Like, is this a sign? Like, I'm someone like who believes in those little signs in life and things that happen, like they happen for a reason, that cliche saying. And I was like, the season ended. I scored my 1,000 points. My season ended, and I was like, just go mode. I still kept working out. And to me, that was like, all right, COVID's hitting now. Like, now it's an issue, the big time when it first came out. And I'm like, I'm still go mode. I'm going to the gym every single day. Like, I'm still searching for something. And that was like one big sign for me, like minus COVID. That was that positive sign. I'm like, there's a reason you're stepping in the gym right now still, and you still think you're playing. And then I just went through that process, long process of, like getting visas, stuff like that. And, you had the cliche, my dreams came true, but I was on a 7-hour plane by myself and I still wasn't like, looking out the plane and I'm like, this is real. Like, you did this. I'm like, oh no, it's go mode to prove myself to people again. So I just always had that chip on my shoulder.
All right. So I guess we just segued into that pretty well. You're overseas now. Where did you end up playing? And, what were kind of the shining moments of that? What were kind of the scary moments of that? What was your overall experience playing professionally overseas?
Yeah, so I played in the UK, Wales, and then in the city of Cardiff. I get there. It's, COVID's heavy. You have to quarantine for 14 days.
Oh, God. That's tough.
So I'm looking at myself as someone who, runs away from my emotions by playing basketball, by working out. Okay. And I go into this building and I'm like, is it like, I'm thinking in my head, this isn't real that I have to quarantine in one room by myself for 14 days. That, smells of a lot of problems and emotions. So I get into my room and the first thing I do is like, oh God, I don't have a comforter or pillows.
No way.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh shit.
Okay. What did you do next?
I then wondered, how am I going to eat? Because, funny story, I put my phone on airplane mode, so I could only use it for Wi-Fi, right? So now I don't know how to connect to the Wi-Fi. Technology challenged a little bit. Don't know who do I call. I'm also in a foreign country, right?
Right, yeah.
Can't leave my room to go to the front desk.
Wait, that's ridiculous. You couldn't, you weren't supposed to go down to the front desk?
Nope.
I remember those times too of like looking to travel places and they had 14-day quarantines and you would have to get put up in a hotel or something like that.
Yeah, and it was serious though. So in the US was okay, some precautions, but then also people were like, screw you, right? Like, this is serious over there. Like, they take, you're in a room for 14 days. So I fast forward, figure it all out. And
did you get someone to deliver you the pillow and the comforter and stuff? Who did you contact? Yeah, so I was able to call down to the front desk and figure it out. And then I was like, oh man, I'm hungry, right? Never, still to this day, have I used Uber Eats or DoorDash. So my phone also doesn't work. You can't make that call for the DoorDasher or whatever they used over there. I forget. Right.
So then never got it. don't know who to call to get my refund. Don't know how to use like the foreign one to ask for like a refund. So I'm like, oh man, great first night. And then fast forward, like, you know, that first year, like, I hate to talk about negatives before positives in like my life, but wow, right? Like this right here, it says no risk, no story. Like
that's your tattoo.
Yeah, that goes to my first year because COVID was so heavy there. I met a lot of like great people, but soon COVID hit like bad again by Christmas. I actually was lucky that I met one of my best friends over there, Kim and Alice as well. They lived in a house, so I was able kind of to like do the quarantine bit over there a little bit.
Nice. You
know, you get to a little bit before Christmas and there's talk of the season canceled.
Yeah, of course. I mean,
so I'm there, an American, you know, taking a big risk in life. And I'm like, no way, right? I've never lived, from what I can remember, from 8th grade on, I haven't lived a life where the gym and basketball wasn't at least 6 days a week, right? That's my problem solver. Season gets canceled. Gyms close till June. Luckily, I left before that. And I probably went through, probably no one really knows well, but I probably went through one of the toughest times of my life because I'm sitting over there like, you made it. That's how everyone was viewing me.
Right.
And then, you know, I had some best friends back here and people were like, you left us, right? That's kind of the heartache for us. And I really, really struggled emotionally without the gym and basketball, but I felt really lonely because I was the person who made it. I made it overseas. Oh, that's so cool. Like you did it. You know, fast forward, I was itching to come home to go to the gym, see my family. Like sounds silly, but like I ran to the gym as soon as I got home in the summer. And then I was just toying with myself of the sense of, should I go back? Like, is COVID still going to be a thing over there? It's maybe not here. And I went back and like the other part of my tattoo says no risk, no story. That second year gave me like a story of a lifetime. It gave me people that I'll love forever, that I can go visit, that I can go travel. And like, honestly, like I have a bunch of really close friends there that like talk once a week, Snapchat every day. But like, you know, one of my best friends, Kim, is like, you know, it doesn't feel like she's 3,000 miles away. I could like literally drive to her house. And that's like something that I really pride on is like kind-hearted people. And I matched in quite well overseas. So
nice.
I was like known as kind of like always being the mom and the old soul. But Europe's pretty advanced, right? So people are super mature for their age, which I always have been. So then the basketball bit, greatest teammates I've played with, so good, made me really good, could shoot the ball really good, but just like kind-hearted people.
What did you notice about the culture over there in Wales? Like, were you drinking tea or like, you know, like, are there any funny phrases that people would say? Like, what was it? What is that part of the world like?
Yeah. So the best way I can explain it is like the way of living is the same, like showering, brushing your teeth, going to the bathroom.
Fair.
Right? But not even driving. Okay. You're on the other side of the road. The amount of times I would go to the wrong side of the door, Kim would be like, what are you doing? Right. And I'm like, oh, right. And it was funny because like underwear, it's called pants. So there's a situation where I was like, Kim, can you grab my gray pants out of the dryer? Right. I'm going to work. And all of a sudden, you know, she's like, they're not in here. I'm like, dude, they're definitely in there. And I go downstairs and like, I see no gray pants. I'm like, they're right there. I mean, gray underwear. Oh, I mean, look, it confuses me.
Yeah, no,
but anyways, I was like,
like,
they're right here. And she's like, those are joggers. Like I forget some of the phrases and this is a funny phrase. So, you know, like when they say bloody hell.
Yeah.
And it's like, we think it's a joke.
Yeah.
So they don't really say that, but I was hanging out with her one time and something was happening and she was like, bloody hell. And I was like she was pissed. And I was like, oh God, like I'm going to start laughing right now. And then I was...
That's like a serious term. Like people are like that. Like, Okay.
And there's a lot of swear words that are pretty funny, but maybe the best one was that like I still get, teased with is the tea. I put the mug in the microwave to warm up the water.
Yeah.
And put the tea bag in it. And they're like, what are you doing?
That's so
One, there's a
funny.
kettle.
Yeah.
And what are you drinking with no milk and no sugar? I'm like, why don't you drink coffee? And they don't have coffee creamer over there.
Huh.
So I get to
Interesting.
Amsterdam and I go to order a Starbucks. I was like, can I get a caramelized coffee? They're like, a macchiato. I'm like, no. They're like, a latte. I'm like, no. Do you have like iced coffee? And they're like, you have your choice from a macchiato or latte.
Wow. Wait, so I've always wondered what they do with their tea over there, because like I heard someone once say that like the way you make your tea says a lot about you.
Yeah.
And I never knew what that meant. I never like what does the way I make tea say about me? Like I didn't know if they did put milk in it, or if like you did put milk in it, you were weird. I didn't know.
Yeah, milk and sugar. And like I make jokes to them because I'm like, do you want to just have milk and sugar? And like they'd sit and then they call it who's on the brews, right? Like who's making the teas.
How often do they drink tea?
We would sit and watch, I forget what it's called, like the Love Island UK one.
Yeah.
And like, I'm like, are you guys all right? Like they're drinking these like every 15, 20 minutes. And like, it's always who's on the brews.
Oh my God.
And
that's
I'm
so funny.
luckily that I put that cup in the microwave that I never had to be on the brews.
Right. Is it black tea?
Yeah. I honestly,
I like English breakfast tea is
Yeah.
like black tea. I've been on that kick. Like I'll have friends over and like it'll be late night, like at the end of the night, like when people are done drinking beer, like at late night, and I'll be like, anybody want tea? And nobody wants
no.
tea.
Like I drink tea sometimes, but like I never put milk and sugar in it when I was there for 2 years, and like I still won't. Like I'll just have a cookie or like ice cream or something if I'm gonna have sugar and milk that way.
Oh,
So just like a lot of differences, but it's like such a cool thing to experience. I also got like another job over there. So I coach, but I also worked at Falafel Corner,
okay.
which was pretty cool because I don't eat meat. I haven't.
Okay.
I think it's been like 4 years now. And you get the classic, are you American? And I made like, the regulars, just talk to them all the time. I prided on myself that when I got off the plane that I was going to make some friends outside of sports and like love the people I work with. Super different
That's awesome.
from each other.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
But like love the people I work with. And then back to the basketball bit, had a really great year. We went to the semis and I think they know what they were doing. So it's a 6-hour drive and it was supposed to be at like 4 maybe. And we got there the night before. So we had to check out at like 11. So we're kind of just like tired from traveling. And now we're just finding stuff to do. And boom, now our game's at 8. Oh, and we have to drive home after. So our game's at 8 was supposed to be at like 4, something like that. And I could say, and anyone like people watching it from the UK, like we had an unbelievable season. We didn't really have plays. We were just so fundamentally good with our chemistry that like we could work off each other. And we get to this game and Lauren, a fabulous point guard, I think like turned it over twice. And that was like, she never did that. Mm-hmm. So I think we were like all frazzled. I couldn't hit a shot for like to save my life. And I was super lucky that I was, getting really great opportunities to shoot a 3 and I wasn't missing much. And I was like, oh my God. They were double teaming some of my other teammates and we're in this situation where like, why are we not up right now? Right. So we're in the semis and, we grind it out. We're not playing our best by any means, probably our worst game of the season. And we're down to the wire, goes into overtime. All right, we got this, right? Like reset ourselves. Let's hit some shots, right? Like let's work around this double team. And we lose by 4.
Dang.
Gutting, right? Like, all right, like we're about to get a championship. This is gonna be the greatest moment of my life. Like, and that was another moment of my life where, I put a lot of pressure on myself on the way home. Like it was definitely, as always, a team effort, but I was like, the negative thoughts of once again, like I couldn't complete the assignment.
Mm-hmm.
But then like had a really great like 2 month month and a half after that, and like forever grateful for the people, like really, really kind-hearted people. Like just like you can't make it up, really.
Yeah.
Semifinal game, like during that, did it hit you that was going to be your last basketball game, or was that your last basketball game?
So we played one more game, kind of just like more of a fun game, not super competitive. And just like my senior night, just like this game, like it didn't hit me. It still hasn't hit me. Like I went through that mode of crying a lot, trying to, I don't know how I am through basketball, and I still don't, but I don't know if it hit me yet. Still.
I definitely get that.
After that game and after that season started to end, when did you start to transition to this idea of becoming a coach?
Yeah, so we had a super great year basketball wise, and mentally almost, that like I would want to play forever, right? But let's be honest, I'm not going to the WNBA. Okay, so I have to think here, like family and friends I pride on, right? So time doesn't stop when I'm away. Okay, so I was like, how long are you going to do this? So I was like, okay, you had a really great season. Let's end it here. And it was one of those situations where like I just had to be like, you're done. Don't really have great reasons for it, but I always knew like I wanted to coach and do training. So training for me, like I really enjoy the 1v1 because you get to those gritty, smallest movements. Like, look, your leg has to be to the left a little bit more. Like, I wish I could play forever and ever and ever. Like, it's who I am, and I still don't know who I am without it. But I'm super grateful that I've transitioned really, really fast in moving up in this, training and coaching industry. So,
okay, so you're a coach now, and you do like a lot of one-on-one training, right? What's the benefit of like one-on-one coaching? And why is it so important?
So I personally like really enjoy coaching the 1v1 because you get down to those like really small details, the tweaks in your shot, just kind of also being that player coach, right? So a lot of my mentors came from trainers, right? Like I care about the people that walk in the gym because you want to get better. You're also getting me better as a coach. And then for players, it's the same thing, right? You work on that nitty gritty stuff. You keep missing your shot. Well, what is it? Why? Like, are you holding your follow through? Or are your shoulders square to the rim? Like, are you jumping enough? Like, is your base of your feet right? Like, there's so much that goes into basketball, and like, it's unbelievable. And you can work with a client every single day and find all those small details, and then in a player, right? So you work with them every single day. Well, Friday might be a terrible day for them, and that could be the fourth quarter for them. How do you improve them as a player when they have their bad days? And then when I have a bad day, okay, someone walks into the gym and they're still paying money. They want to still see my smiling face. They want me to get them better. So how do I improve myself?
That makes a lot of sense.
So, you're a coach and a trainer now. Like, how did, what were the first steps of getting clients and becoming a coach? Like, was that an easy process? And, for anyone who's looking to, step into that role, what's your piece of advice there?
Yeah. So I mentioned before, I coached a camp at Bishop Vian, and the head coach ran, the camp. And I was super fortunate that she just gave my number one day to Sarah Bain, huge basketball woman. Kind of, a mentor to me now because she's doing what I want to do, as I get older. And we sat down in her office, and when I tell you, I, felt like we've been having this conversation for, 10 years. We just clicked, and I've been super fortunate that she trusted in me. I now by myself work with her clients, and because gym space is super hard to find, she's kind of like, I don't know if she'll enjoy the boss word, but she's a boss to me that also I see as a friend, and like super fortunate that I can learn from her because she's doing exactly what I want to do, and she's a woman in this industry. I
feel like having those mentors is like really, really important and beneficial.
Yeah.
Some people don't know where to find those mentors though, and I guess you just got to keep your eyes open. And one thing that I heard about mentors was that, like, you could have a mentor who you've never even spoken to. And if you it could be like somebody on the internet who has YouTube videos, and like you can like research and like listen to every single word they've ever posted, and that could be someone's mentor if they don't have someone in person who can help them. So like for anybody out there who's like looking for a mentor, it doesn't have to be someone that you can like reach out and grab. Like there can be anybody could be your mentor. One of my questions for you was, what's your advice for, there's a couple different people that I'd like your advice from. What's your advice for somebody who's young and either in middle school or early high school, but they want to pursue the game of basketball?
Yeah, so advice I would give would definitely be like, are you certain in that? And like you're super young, but like you love the game of basketball. Coming from myself, like you do. And it's just doing those small things to make you a better player in person. And if you have the opportunity over and over again to get yourself better with the 1v1 training, with connections, definitely do that. And definitely being so young. I have a client that I've only worked with her for 2 weeks in a summer camp. And, I could say I feel like she looks at me as someone who's a mentor, and we have phone calls once a week. And I tell her things like, listen, control the controllable. But what you can do is be a great student. You can eat really healthy. You can quit the soda, like small things like that you can do when you're young. And you can build those habits of control the controllable. So when you become a senior in high school and you turn the ball over 3 times in a row, control the controllable, get back on defense.
Totally. That's really good advice. All right. What's your advice for somebody who's in the late stages of high school but wants to continue to pursue basketball?
Yeah. So that goes back like personally to me because I started pretty late, and it's like kind of play the catch-up game and have fun doing it. So I sacrificed a lot, but I still can say to this day that the sacrifices I made and things I missed out on for a reason, and I wanted to. Like, you got to want to be in the gym. You can't just go to the gym for an hour and do layups like lazy. Like, you got to want to be there. Like, you got to fall in love with the process of things, not the results of, I'm the best player in the high school. And it's just take advantage of your opportunities and listen to people who have been in your shoes.
Fall in love with the process. Heck yeah.
And, another one of my questions is like, obviously being a woman in this space is perhaps challenging. Like, do you have any advice for, a woman who's trying to make the next level, I guess, in this industry, and then really in general, like, facing adversity? What is your comments on that?
So definitely can face some challenges as being a woman in this industry, but I think it's, finding those maybe male people in your corner, and then finding those female, superstars, mentors. So like, this past like 2 months, if I ever questioned like, I'm 5'3", I'm a woman, like, is someone 6'5" who's, going to a powerhouse going to trust me? Well, I know that they could trust me, but do they? And it's like, whenever I get caught in those moments, I go, I walk into the gym in Foxborough and I see Sarah Bain, and I look at her and I think, I'll be fine. She did this, 20, 30 years ago when it was 10 times worse.
So true. So, what, like you said, you want to do her job, and that's kind of what you're working towards. What are you working towards? Is it being a head coach for a big program, or, running your own training? What's kind of the end goal for this? So 3 small pieces, well, big pieces is definitely one-on-one training is I love it. I would love to open up a half-court gym that's enough room from the 3-point line in a lifting section, on the other side, build that clientele, be happy, cliche. Maybe also a head coach at a high school, and then AAU, clinics, camps, and just stuff like that. But it's really, I just want to fall in love with what I'm doing and be okay with that every day. Like, I pride on waking up and like, all right, got 5 clients ahead of me. Like, I'm excited. Absolutely. And so obviously, like, it's an ever-changing industry. As technology comes out, things change. The game of women's basketball grows. What are you leveraging right now? Like, are you using social media? Are you using anything to kind of like expand your clientele and your reach for this? Yeah.
So I just previously created a page for my training, coaching, all those types of things, and pretty much just the connections I have. So through Dana Barros, through what is called the dojo, and then Kingsbury and Medfield. And like, again, the connections I have, that's pretty much how I'm trying to build it. And I'm moving pretty quickly. Not fast enough in my head, right? But super grateful for like the clients I already have, and the people putting trust in me as being so young, just starting fresh.
Sounds awesome. Thank you so much for coming on to the Pure World podcast. And you've been great. For everybody who's watching, I'm Jack.
I'm Rob.
And this is Ange. Ange, you want to tell the people where they can find and support you?
Yeah. So for my coaching page, it's called core_Marazzi training. So I have all my training videos and just some examples of what I do there. Mainly
for people in the Massachusetts area, right?
Yeah. I mean, I was a New Hampshire resident and I was making that hour and 50-minute drive. So, if you do see this in New Hampshire, you can put your trust in me to make that drive. But yes.
Rhode Island as well, maybe. It's close enough. Yeah. Cool. And for anybody who's watching or listening, wants to support the podcast, you can get your sustainably sourced adventure gear at pureworldshop.com. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Have a great day.